Picture this: a student arrives in Canada full of hope, ready to begin their studies, only to spend weeks couch surfing or paying sky-high rents just to secure a bed. This isn't a rare story anymore. It's the reality for thousands of international students across the country. Canada's booming international student population has become a cornerstone of the education sector and the economy. But with more students arriving every year, the student housing crisis is reaching a tipping point. Rentals are scarce, rents are skyrocketing, and local communities are feeling the squeeze. Let's unpack how international students are reshaping Canada's rental landscape, why it's happening, and what can be done about it. The surge in international students over the last decade, Canada has positioned itself as one of the world's most attractive destinations for international education. Factors like welcoming immigration pathways, high-quality universities, and relative affordability compared to the US or UK have driven record enrollments. In 2023, Canada hosted over 1 million international students, a number that continues to grow. Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta remain the most popular destinations, though Atlantic provinces and prairie cities are also seeing rapid increases. Many international students view study permits as a first step toward permanent residency. While this trend fuels the economy through tuition fees, consumer spending, and labor force contributions, it also places immense pressure on local housing markets. Why international students struggle to find housing: 1. Limited student accommodations. Most Canadian universities and colleges provide only a fraction of the student housing needed. Residences often prioritize first-year students, leaving returning and international students to compete for rentals in the open market. 2. Concentration in big cities. Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal attract the largest share of international student cities already facing housing shortages and high rents. This creates intense competition between students and local renters. 3. Affordability gap. Many students arrive with limited financial resources. When average rents for a one-bedroom unit in Toronto hover around $2,500 a month, affordability becomes a major barrier. Students often resort to shared accommodations, sometimes with unsafe living conditions. 4. Unregulated private colleges. A surge in private career colleges admitting international students, especially in Ontario, has worsened the issue. These institutions often lack on-campus housing, funneling students directly into strained rental markets. Impact on the rental market. The influx of international students creates ripple effects across the housing landscape. Increased demand. Tens of thousands of additional renters enter markets every year, competing with locals. Higher rents. In some neighborhoods, landlords prefer renting to groups of students who will pay higher combined rents for shared spaces. Overcrowding. Students sometimes live in packed conditions, with multiple people in one room to cut costs. Community concerns. Residents in some cities complain of changing neighborhood dynamics, noise, and strain on infrastructure. Data highlights the impact. In cities like Waterloo and London, Ontario, home to major universities, rents have surged well above provincial averages. In Vancouver, officials estimate that international students account for a significant portion of rental demand, especially in purpose-built apartments. The broader housing crisis connection. It's important to note that international students didn't cause Canada's housing crisis. They're part of a much larger puzzle. Years of underbuilding, restrictive zoning, and population growth have left supply lagging far behind demand. However, the rapid increase in student arrivals has intensified the shortage in specific areas, particularly near campuses. This makes the issue highly visible and politically sensitive. Government and institutional responses. Both policymakers and universities are scrambling to address the student housing crunch. Federal measures. In 2024, the federal government announced plans to cap international student permits to ease housing pressures, with allocations tied to provincial capacity. Provincial action. Ontario has signaled tighter oversight of private colleges and requirements to ensure they provide adequate housing support. University initiatives. Schools like UBC and McGill are expanding on-campus residences, though projects take years to complete. Municipal responses. Cities like Halifax and Calgary are incentivizing purpose-built student housing developments. Still, critics argue these efforts are too little, too late. Demand continues to outstrip supply, and new construction struggles to keep pace. What this means for students and renters for international students. Housing insecurity remains a major challenge, with some delaying or even canceling studies due to lack of affordable rentals. Financial stress is rising as more income goes toward rent, leaving less for tuition, food, and daily living. For local renters, competition is fierce, particularly in student-heavy neighborhoods. Families and young professionals often find themselves priced out of areas dominated by student rentals. For investors and landlords, student rentals can be highly lucrative, but regulations such as zoning and occupancy limits are tightening in some cities to prevent overcrowding. Potential solutions tackling the student housing crisis will require coordinated action. Expanding purpose-built student housing, universities, private developers, and governments need to partner on large-scale student residences. Stronger oversight of colleges, particularly private institutions, ensuring they don't admit more students than local housing can support. Zoning reforms. Cities can ease restrictions on building secondary suites, dorms, and affordable rentals near campuses. Better support for international students, pre-arrival housing assistance, financial counseling, and tenant rights education could reduce risks. Balanced immigration planning. Linking student permit approvals to housing availability is controversial, but may help stabilize markets. Conclusion: Canada's international students bring immense value to the economy, universities, and cultural life. But without adequate housing, the system is straining at the seams. The student housing crisis isn't just about students. It affects renters, communities, and the entire housing market. What do you think? Should Canada reduce the number of international students until housing catches up? Or should governments and schools build faster to meet demand? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective.